Good morning and a warm welcome to you all. I am Akshita, your host for today. Our topic for today is managing the client interaction, which shall be taken over by Ms. Sana Kazi. She shall be covering the topics such as insights to client interactions, create an impact with the client servicing, client feedback, and delighted customers management, followed up by the question and answer section. Let's quickly go through our agenda. Virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessing of deity, introduction of speaker, presentation by Ms. Sana Kazi, question and answer section, and the last closing section. A brief introduction of Dr. Sundar Kataria. Sargun Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate the professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industries and economy. Speaking about Dr. Sundar Kataria, he is the chairman and the managing director of International Certification Services Private Limited. Speaking about his academic qualification, he is a mechanical engineer from AMIE, honor doctorate from business management. Speaking about his experience, nuclear RAPP, he started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawat Bhatta, Kotha, Rajasthan. Oil and gas, EIL, he contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High since its inception. DNV, he was head of industries and offshore development with DNV for 2 decades. ICS, he is the founder of first Indian conformity assessment and inspection body known as International Certification Services Private Limited, which is a provider of a total quality solution under a single umbrella with wide spectrum of services. His achievements: Lifetime Achievement Award of NACC for Bond, received several national and international awards. Now I request Dr. Sundar Kataria.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Request you all to join in chanting the Gayatri Mantra. A brief introduction of the keynote speaker, Ms. Sana Kazi. She is an entrepreneur and a consultant Her areas of specialization and experiences are excellent team building skill, HR management, training and development, client enterprise management, branding and positioning, strategic planning and implementation plan with monitoring measures.
Please welcome. Please welcome Ms. Nagaji. Over to you, ma'am.
Please welcome Ms. Sana Kazi.
Over to you.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm going to put the presentation on the screen.
Ma'am, just a second.
In the meantime, thank you ICS and Sadgun Sang for giving me this opportunity. And I'll be more than happy to share experiences and some insights of client interaction and benefits and advantages that one could take out of this session.
Most welcome, ma'am.
So while they put up the presentation on the screen, we'll start
Okay,
off.
ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
We can start off with our key discussion today, which is of client interaction. Today we're going to talk about client interaction. We're going to talk about you're putting up the. We're going to talk about knowing our clients and our customers, and it's a known fact, and by now everybody is well versed with the terms internal customers, external customers. Internal customers are customers whom we have to deal with in day to day life, where we have to interact with our colleagues, we have to interact with our seniors, we have to interact with our peers. So these are our internal customers. Other than this, our external customers, of course, are our clients, and for the various businesses we support, or the clients that give us revenue and our reason for our business to grow. The key aspect that we need to understand over here is that there are diverse needs and expectations of customers, either they're internal or either they're external. And it is for us to understand what these needs and expectations are. And we need to accept that everybody's needs and expectations are different. And to be able to understand the needs and expectations of each of these customers, and to be able to interact with them, to be able to build a rapport with them, a relationship with them, that's the key aspect of a client interaction, be that internal or external. Therefore, we always say that the significance of effective client interaction and the impact, is directly on the client satisfaction and, of course, the business success. How do we create a lasting impression with the client? First of all, it is important that we understand that a client is also a human being. So while we focus on aspects of having the best PowerPoint presentation, having the best, wearing the best clothes, making sure you smell right, and making sure everything is to the T, you realize that at times you tend to forget that your client is also just another human being. The very fact that you have to actually recognize the person, you have to understand what is the need of that person for you to build a relationship with them. That's the key aspect of a client, and this starts from the first instant of your interaction with them. So it's very important for you to to realize and to know that to have a lasting impression with a client, you need to have a strong relationship. How does this relationship build? You need to understand what is the need of the client. You need to understand why is this reason for us to meet the client, and how is it that we can service this client and be able to build that rapport with them for us to get business and for both of us to benefit out of this. A lot many times you tend to meet customers, but then the solutions that you bring to the table is, this is what I have, this is what I can provide you, this is how we do our service. That's not the solution, or that's not going to create an impact, or that's not going to help you build a rapport or a relationship with the client for it to be a long lasting one. It may be a short term, but it can't be a long lasting one. What you need to do is understand the need, and you have to give them personalized solutions. At times there is a tweak that's required from your end to be able to deliver to the customer what they want, and it's very important for you to understand that aspect of it. A lot many times some clients try to test you. They while they know that you are there for business, there are some clients who actually want to test you and ask you things which are not in your regular scope of work, which may require you to customize things. It may require you to go that extra mile. But trust me, if you have to understand this, and if you have to go that extra mile, the minute this customer is your client, this customer is your client forever, because you have won the trust, you have won, the confidence of the client, and the client actually has that feel good factor that you have been able to not only meet the needs of this client, but you've actually been able to exceed their expectation. What some effective strategies, what are some strategies that we can use to provide excellent client servicing? A lot many times when we do meetings, we fail to realize that we need to first understand what the client exactly wants. The client wants to be heard. The reason the client is looking for a change in a service, or looking to change a product, or looking for any kind of change that you are able to provide a solution, there is a reason for that. Either the existing system is defunct, or they are unhappy with the existing system, or they think it's time for an upgrade for the existing system. So it's very important for you to understand what is the exact reason that the client is wanting this change. And the minute you allow the client, or you actually ask them to share with you the shortfalls, or share with you their pain points, or share with you their areas of problem, you will realize that during that conversation of the client talking to you, automatically the client is able to build a relationship with you. They are automatically talking to you and trusting you with the problems they have on hand, and they are able to convey to you in words what are their expectations of a solution to the problem. What do they perceive as a solution to the problem, and what do they expect of you? Half the battle is won there. I think when a client vents out their problems, a client has this feeling that this is a solution to my problem. I've been having so much of trouble with this, and here there is somebody who is actually asking me my problem, which means they are listening to my problem, and which means they will be able to resolve my issue. And I think this is a very basic, but it is the key aspect of client servicing and client interaction. I think the gift to listen to a client today, in today's age and time, because we're so thrilled with PowerPoint presentations and videos and clips and links. We failed to realize that it is important to have interpersonal discussions. It is important to give each other time to speak and to listen to people. And I think if you are able to encash on this, it'll work great guns, and it will also take you a long way. The other aspect of client servicing and interaction is ensuring that at every given point in time, a client has something to say to you. You have a prompt response. The response at every given point in time may not need to have a solution, but the very fact that you acknowledge that the client has said something to you is in itself makes the client feel, oh, there is somebody who's listening to me. There's somebody who cares about what I think. There is somebody who is actually noticing that I have a problem and is willing to work on a solution for my problem. I think the aspect of replying promptly, okay, at every given point in time, I repeat, it necessarily need not be a solution at that given point in time. But the very fact that you reply immediately to a client automatically solves half your problem, automatically eases the client out, because the client feels that, oh, there is somebody who has now listened to my problem and is able to share the burden with me and will be able to resolve the issue with me. So this is something which is an advantage or that a client has. But if, as a service provider, if you are able to understand that this is a very key aspect of client relationship, I think there's a long way that you can go with a stronger bond. Always try and put yourself in the customer's place. So for example, we all are customers. We all have a particular way in which we'd like to be treated. For example, if you have to walk down a shop and buy something, and if you have the shopkeeper who isn't pleasant, who isn't welcoming, you perhaps may not even make that one trade with the shop. You may just walk out of the shops probably with an expression that even if this shop has something that I need, I don't want to buy it from here because my experience is not good. If I don't feel good, why should I spend my money? I think this feeling is something that should be with you at every given point in time. Whenever you have to deal with a client, and if you are trying to ensure that the customer, you always want to keep your customers happy. You always want your customers to stay with you. You always want your customers to speak good about you. What you need to do is be proactive. You need to put yourself in the customer's place, and you need to basically think about how would you want to be treated? How would you want the problem to be addressed? And if you had to experience this service, what would you feel? What would be that little bit of gap that needs to be bridged? And the minute you start thinking about this, you will realize that you automatically become proactive. You automatically start anticipating what the client wants. And you realize that at a lot many times that when you're going to a client and you're like, sir, this is what you expected, and I've thought that this is a better way to take this forward. Please let me know your solution. And you realize that the client is astonished. The client is, oh, I just thought about this. And or a client may turn around and say, oh, I didn't even think about this. So it's so good that you are thinking about this on my behalf. And I think these few things are able to build a rapport with the client such that converts into long-term loyalty. I think those kind of customers will always be there with you. They'll always be there and will always give you business. They will always ensure that they grow, and they will take you and allow you to grow with them. And this is what I'm saying with personal experience as well. So at the end of the day, it's very important that you focus on the customer, you focus on the customer needs, you be proactive, And at every given point in time, it's very important that you are honest and you're promising what you can deliver. I think that is the key to any kind of client management, because at the end of the day, a customer will give you an opportunity once, a customer will give you an opportunity twice. The third time, the customer has an option to go to somebody else. So you have limited time to ensure that you are able to crack it with the client and you are able to develop that rapport such that the customer is engaged and stays with you for mutual benefit. Another aspect of client interaction is client feedback and handling client feedback. I'm not sure how many of us focus and we act on client feedback. Many times you have people who take feedback but don't do anything about it. Today, if you look at most of the apps that you use, be it a Zomato, be it a Blinkit, use any app, you have any kind of customer interaction, you immediately get a link to know your feedback. But how many of these actually act on the feedback that you give them? And because they are not able to act on the feedback you give them, you are not loyal customers to them. You deal with a Zomato, you deal with a Swiggy as well, you deal with an HDFC, you deal with an ICICI Bank as well. That is because you are not 100% satisfied customer, where you want to ensure that at every given point in time you're dealing with just one of them. And a very important aspect of this is client feedback and client handling. How often have people brought their grievances on the table and those have been addressed? How often have their feedback been heard? Clients take the time to submit their feedback, but how often does somebody read that feedback, act on it, and actually have corrective measures to improve on the process? And a customer, when they're sharing feedback, they exactly know when you are working on the feedback and your services are being improved. So there's no way you can even think that you are trying to fool a customer. That's something that's a definite no. So I think it is very important in any industry that deals with customers, and all industries deal with customers, that they need to ensure that they give equal importance to client feedback and just as equal importance to handling and addressing them. Because the minute you start handling and addressing the client feedback and you go back to the client and tell them, sir, this was your feedback and we have acted on this, again the client is in a moment of delight. The client is, oh, I'm so special for them. I shared feedback, they not only acted on it, they changed their process, they improved their services, but they've come back to tell me or ask me if I have something more to say to them. And I think that moment of delight as a customer is something that is unmatched. And that is the top, and that is the uniqueness of your relationship. If you are able to touch that aspect of client interaction, I think it will create wonders for you as an individual. It will create wonders for the business as well. So the idea is that you always aspire to have a customer who is satisfied, not only a customer who is satisfied, but a customer who is delighted. I think that's the key aspect of client interaction, because the minute you aspire to ensure that you want a customer to be delighted, you're constantly working on improving your service, improving your interaction, building your relationship with the client. And that time, that entire this exercise actually creates, and it creates a long building psychological relationship between you and the client. And this works long term, again, in terms of individual growth, in terms of company growth, in terms of success of the business, because you're constantly, mutually beneficial to each other. And this aspect is something which is not very complex, but it is something which you need to understand and work on. It's a technique that you need to adapt, because today, in the age of gadgets and PowerPoint presentations again and apps, we forget that we are also human. So this human aspect of building a relationship is something which goes a long way and is definitely proven successful. At the end of the day, a delighted customer will always give you lifetime value. A delighted customer will always stay with you, because there is no need for a customer to look for somebody else, because whenever they have a need, or they have any grievance, or they have a challenge, they have the comfort to pick up the phone and call you and tell you, this is a problem that I have on hand. And a lot many times, or over a period of time, you realize that they don't only call you for problems which are related to your nature of service. They just pick up the phone and say, I just thought of asking you, do you know of somebody who will be able to resolve this issue for me? And I think that moment when the client has to call you and actually ask you for a solution for something that is not in your arena of service or your portfolio of service, that in itself is the top level of client servicing, client interaction, and is actually taken to a delighted customer, because the customer actually has that confidence, has that trust, has that belief that they're comfortably able to share their problem with you, and you're actually able to give them a solution or suggest a solution, or you can even discuss the problem with them to identify an ideal solution. So this is the next level of client relationship, that you have with customers. And I think this again comes only with the fact that you ensure that you listen to the client, you ensure that you interact with the client, you ensure that you are constantly talking to the client. The key aspect of this. The role of an individual is the ultimate during client interactions. You are the most crucial aspect of client interactions, be it in person or be it virtual. At the end of the day, the key takeaway of successful client interaction always remains you. And there are certain key aspects to it, which I'll lightly touch upon. For example, interpersonal skills. For example, it's very important for you to ensure that you are able to connect with the client. You're able to strike a conversation. It's very important that you're well groomed, because at the end of the day, the first impression is the impression that the client is, building off you. So when you're well groomed, you're well presented, the client actually starts building an impression that, oh yes, this is somebody who seems to be firm. This is somebody who seems to be a solution provider, or this is somebody who will be able to resolve concerns that I have. The client is convinced that they are able to trust and they are able to confide in you by sharing, their problem areas. And I think this starts with the first aspect of your presentation, which is very important. Positive body language is very important. You need to ensure that you are constantly listening. When I say listening, it's not that the client is speaking and you're trying to gauge on the atmosphere. No, it's very important that you give your time to them while they're talking to you. Look at them, respond to them, understand them. A lot many times you need to empathize with them. The client is trying to tell you, I have this serious problem. I constantly have this problem and I'm tired of this problem and I need a solution to this problem. The very fact that the client is actually saying this to you, you need to empathize with them. You need to listen to them with empathy, but you also should not make them feel that, oh, how sorry your job is. You need to give them that feeling that, don't worry, I'm here now, and hopefully these days will be gone soon. If you have to give me the contract, I should be able to resolve this problem for you right away. I think that is what you need to build, and that's what wins most of these conversations and interactions with clients. You need to always remember that listening to a client and empathizing with the clients and ensuring that you are able to build the confidence in the clients by smiling and telling them, I hear your problem, I understand your problem, and I'm here to resolve it. A lot many times, other than all these aspects, what also works is a slight bit of an emotional touch to it as well. And I think uh, at times people are not emotional, but for the most of the times that people are emotional, I think you will realize that once you're able to get to the psychological balance of having a conversation with the client, and the client now is convinced that you are able to resolve their problem, the client is also emotionally banking on you to resolve their issue. And the minute you understand this aspect of it, I think the battle is won. You have a client with you forever. You have a client with you to stay for a lifetime. And if your focus is customer delight, I think you will always be in business and you will always be successful, because at the end of the day, there is nothing more beneficial than a delightful customer or a delighted customer promoting your business. The emotional aspect, the happiness, the genuine promotion for your business, the discussions that they have is something that is unmatched. There is no marketing, there is no social media handle, there is no number of tweets that can compensate a delighted customer who is able to convince or talk to their friends about the experience that they are having with your service and why they should also try your service. And I think if you have to follow these key basic aspects, there will be a lot of benefit for all of us to be in business and grow in business. Thank you so much. We now open the discussion to any kind of questions that you may have, or any kind of information that you may need, or if there is anything that you disagree or you agree, or you'd like to even share with us as your experience.
Yes. Sana, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Singh.
First of all, I thanks. It was a wonderful insight with regard to the customer satisfaction, which is the first and foremost requirement of day-to-day life if we want to remain in the business.
Yes.
And this is one of the goal of ISO 9001 certification too, to increase the customer satisfaction and having a continual improvement in that.
Yes.
But there are certain cases which I personally feel that the complete team is not focusing towards the customer satisfaction. Few people are having the customer satisfaction goal, but sometimes the management is not listening. Sometimes the subordinates are not listening. How to persuade them to have this thing in their mind? This is very specific to my organization itself.
Right.
I'm very true in that, because we wanting to resolve the problem. Because when the customer himself says, you said that the customer is saying, I'm very happy with you, you are very good and you have taken my care, and the customer says vice versa, I'm fed up with you. What to do about that?
Firstly, I think the customer who says that I'm fed up, I think that's a customer that you have to go and you have to spend more time with. I think this is a customer that I would love to handle. I would love to go to a customer who is unhappy with the services and go and first sit down and listen to what the customer has to say. The very fact that even after being unhappy with your services, the client is telling you that they're unhappy, that means they want you to improve.
Correct.
They want you to stay. They want to give you the business because they have comfort with you, because it's legacy, because it can be whatsoever reason. The very fact that a customer tells you that I'm fed up of you is the customer who is fond of you the most. That customer wants you to stay with them. And therefore, the first sign of this is to go to that customer and sit down and listen to that customer. And when I'm saying listening, a lot many times what happens is that, like I said, you just send somebody to listen to the client, they just listen to the client and they come back and don't do anything about it. That is not what we want. What we want is so small things again. And therefore, when I talk about client interactions, it's very important for us to understand that the aspect of ensuring that we are well groomed, the aspect of ensuring that we are listening to our customers, we're sitting in front of them and listening to them. The very fact that we're actually taking a book and we're writing down what the feedback is. You can't go and do meetings and not make notes because the client is complaining to you. The client can complain to you about 1 point, the client can complain to you about 100 points. You're not going to be able to remember all of it. So are you noting that down? And believe me, while these aspects, these sound petty, it gives it, believe me, it works psychologically. The client feels, oh, this person is actually making note of my grievances, which means this person is actually listening to each and every aspect that I have to say. And hopefully, even if they work out on 40% of it, my problem will be solved. That in itself calms the client down. That in itself calms the client down. You know, at a time when you have an unhappy customer, you can't go there and smile to them and talk to them about all and sundry. You have to go to them and reassure them that, sir, I am here to listen to your grievance and I am here to address your problem. And there's no harm in telling them that, sir, I have reached this point today where you are upset with me. Give me time. I will sort this problem out and I will come back to you with solutions. And believe me, there is no client or there is no human being who's irrational and says, I want things as of yesterday. Yes, everybody in their mind as a customer feels that I pay for this service, I should have these services as of yesterday. But when a customer is sharing grievances with you, I don't think any client is irrational and will say, no, I need this sorted out tomorrow. If you are able to give them a timeline, if you are able to convince them that you will come back to them with a plan of action to resolve this issue for you,
Absolutely correct.
I think the client will be convinced and the client will be more than happy to give you that time. And this stems from the fact that we need to come back to our office and to our team who all are associated and interacting with that client, and first let them know, share the information with them that these are the problem areas of this client. Please be aware. Please make sure that these problem areas do not continue effective today. Whatever has happened before, no problem. But today that we know that these are 5 aspects which the client is unhappy about, you are there on ground facing the client every day. Can you make sure that the client does not have these 5 inconveniences going forward? So immediately you've addressed that problem.
Sana, can I have another view on this?
Yes,
बड़ा
Dr.
interesting है जो आनंद पाल जी ने पूछा है ना, when a
Hmm.
client, it depends on the level of the person also. I feel in my experience, I'm just sharing. My ED shared this word twice, in about 20 years, different EDs. When they say I am fed up, it's a very strong subtext, very strong subtext.
Yes.
In most cases, when a person says I am fed up, at the first available opportunity, the vendor is thrown out. It depends on the level. एक बीच का आदमी बोलता है मैनेजर लेवल का, डिप्टी मैनेजर का, उसका आई एम फेड अप डजंट मेक मच सेंस. बोलेगा यार तूने बहुत परेशान कर दिया. इट्स लाइक सेइंग दैट इन अ सेमी, I think it's not a very threatening way at the middle level. But depends if the company का मालिक बोल रहा है ना आई एम फेड अप ऑफ यू, तो अगर एक वेंडर को बोल दिया, it is the warning sign कि बेटा next opportunity पे you are out.
True.
This is my experience, because depends on the level. A senior person would not say this word. It's a very strong phrase. I
True.
am fed up. It's a sentence actually, not a phrase. It's a complete sentence with a subject and verb, So इसमें बोल दिया ना, because हम लोग क्या करते थे at our levels, we are very particular about the words our seniors are using. And that used to give us our strategies. यार इसके साथ ऐसा है, इसके साथ ऐसा है. वो और ये क्या होता है, लेफ्ट हैंड जब पंच मार के आता है जो क्लाइंट से डील करता है, आनंदपाल जी प्लीज, आई मीन इट्स अ लेसन फॉर एवरीबॉडी सिटिंग हियर. लेफ्ट हैंड पंच मार के आता है, उसको इंजुरी करके आता है क्लाइंट को, मतलब लिटरली फिजिकली.
True.
राइट हैंड जाके उसको मलहम लगाता है, लेकिन राइट हैंड हमेशा जाता नहीं है, जा भी नहीं सकता है. पर लेफ्ट हैंड पंच मारते ही रहता है. लेफ्ट हैंड सुधरता नहीं है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में. सो रादर देन बेसिकली, और ये जो आप बोल रहे हैं ना सना, इट्स अ वेरी गुड एक्सरसाइज कि सब बैठ के उसको सेटिस्फाई करें, डिलाइट करें. इंटरनली कितना भी मीटिंग कर लो, जो आदमी कुत्ते की पूंछ है वो वापस जाके पंच मारेगा क्लाइंट को लेफ्ट हैंड से, बिकॉज उसका पर्सनैलिटी वो बन चुकी है यार पंच मारने की. ही केयर्स टू हूट्स फॉर योर बिजनेस. उसका काम है ये काम करना है, मुझे सैलरी चाहिए. उसकी अपनी ईगो है उस आदमी की.
True.
उसकी अपनी ईगो है, एंड वो सुधरेगा नहीं. उसके माँ बाप भी उसको नहीं सुधार पाए तो कंपनी क्या सुधारेगी उसको.
What about the management?
Which management? अपना
The organization's management who is owning the business, owning the responsibility, and then
the
they themselves are not
organization.
taking
See,
care.
such people, I'll tell you,
Immediately.
there are repeated complaints of such people. अगर वो complaint direct भी नहीं है तो indirect आती है management के पास. If
But
management
then also
doesn't
that
act on,
action is not taken.
actions are not taken for various reasons. For various reasons. अब वो management के क्या reasons हैं that management knows. But left hand punch मारते रहता है और right hand मलहम लगाते रहता है. ये जब तक चलते, बिकॉज राइट हैंड का तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है मलहम लगाना. लेफ्ट हैंड आता है और अब खराब करके चला जाता है. आई हैव सीन पीपल, माय वेरी सीनियर पीपल एट CMD लेवल सेइंग a person like किर्लोस्कर का मालिक संजय किर्लोस्कर को बोला, इट्स फॉर 300. He said कि don't send this XYZ person to me next time.
That also happened.
If you are sending this person to me, I will blacklist you. संजय किर्लोस्कर को बोला है हमारे CMD ने आज से 12 साल पहले. So this person makes all the difference to the company. Today, if your company is not doing well, see who are the people who are spoiling your company's reputation. And these things reach management, in one or the other way. But people continue to do the same error. Yeah. एक बंदा अगर XYZ एरर कर रहा है ना, वो वही कंटिन्यू करता है. अगर मैनेजमेंट ने छोटी मोटी वार्निंग भी दे दी तब भी वो करता रहता है, बिकॉज उसकी पर्सनैलिटी वो बन गई है. एनीवे, दिस इज वन पार्ट ऑफ द डिस्कशन एंड एन ओपन डिस्कशन विदाउट एनी, बिकॉज ये मैथमेटिक्स नहीं है कि इसमें कोई सॉल्यूशन ऐसे नहीं आता है. डिस्कशन से आता है, एक्सपीरियंस से आता है. बट दिस पॉइंट इज वेरी सीरियस. आई एम फेड अप इज अ वेरी सीरियस स्टेटमेंट.
And I think,
yeah, please continue. Yeah,
sorry.
Sana, your inputs. Yeah.
And I think, Doc, the very fact that, if while the person on site has to be warned and has to be told that the relationship of the client and us is at brink because of you, and you either pull up your socks or you leave, and for an organization to have a backup, because the client doesn't deserve trial and error. When a client is sharing feedback with you and telling you that, Sana, I'm fed up and I need a solution to my problem, you cannot go back and say, sir, the person on ground is the issue. You need to ensure that if the person on ground is issue, either you go and resolve the problem or redepute somebody who will resolve the problem, but is able to save the contract, is able to ensure that the relationship is mended. And get away with such toxic people, because we do identify there are some people who, because they do not perform, it affects the reputation of the company.
Yes, you're right.
It affects the relationship. A lot many
Yes.
times the CMD is has so many years of relationship with you and wants to continue to do business and is feeling bad to tell you that, Sana, I'm fed up of your services. Even that is a dangerous situation.
It's a
You
dangerous
know,
situation because of people, the people who are interacting on behalf of the CMD, they create all the mess. They create all the mess. In public hearings, collectors used to tell me, तुम्हारा वो आदमी आता है ना, उसको भेजोगे, मैं तुम्हारा land approval नहीं देने वाला हूँ. Collectors used to say, वो आदमी आएगा तो. वो आदमी आता है, क्या ऐसा करके जाता है यार? मुझे मतलब, and I have seen people anyway. Anandpal ji, yeah, there is another hand raised up, I think, Zulekha. Zulekha wants to ask something.
no, I think that's an
What's that? No,
No.
no. She has raised her hand, but please, I mean, this is a matter of introspection in all organizations who are hearing us.
So I think, to sum it up, it is very important that once you hear the client's grievance, you are able to address, and you are able to, come what may, be firm that you want to mend the relationship. And even if that means that there has to be a churn in your team, there has to be a change in your system, there has to be an upgrade in the experience or the delivery of the service, so be it. At the end of the day, a financial loss may still be worth it, but a client being lost is something that, based on the nature of business.
They don't understand. No, these people who deliver punches don't understand this. ये client को लाना, क्योंकि आसानी से client झोली में गिर रहे हैं ना, तो people don't realize the importance of what it costs to get a client. Companies only see the money involved. Companies don't see कि client 2 मिनट में हमारे पास आ गए, sign up कर दिया for some. तो ये, but the left-hand person जो लोग मारता है client को, they don't understand this. And these are the persons who are the most toxic, as you rightly said.
True.
And
I also think, Doc, that with a series of training sessions, and therefore when I started my session, I also spoke about internal and external customers. While today the aspect was dealing with an external customer, it's very important for us to understand the similar aspects with internal customers as well. And therefore, continuous training. While we are talking about client feedback when it comes to external customers, continuous training for people, continuous evaluation on their performance is very important. Today, a lot many companies have general training programs, client satisfaction, client interaction. They only talk to them about how they need to greet them, how they need to meet them, how they need to, respond to them, yes sir, no sir. They don't focus on processes. They don't focus on taking feedback. The minute you get a feedback, what should you do next? What is the plan of action? And I think these aspects should now be considered in training programs so that this entire circle is complete.
Training होती नहीं है ना companies में, role play नहीं होता है कभी. Tell me one company जो role play करवाती है कि यार ये client है, ये तुम जा रहे हो उससे मिलने. But whatever you are, whether you are a marketing person or you are, let us say, an auditor also, whatever you are, आज तक कराया है किसी company ने? बोलो, किसी भी company ने. I'm not talking of certifying bodies, I'm talking of all companies. कि तुम client से, मतलब कभी people don't have the time to observe the person in action. And we go and observe the processes of others, Same thing happened. Like you also ran a company. How many times did you actually do a role play? I think, yeah, you were doing it, because the janitors ka mamla tha. And you have been through all that. Yes, I'm with you on that. So, but 20 years, you have been doing role plays for the lower level. But I don't know how much time you did it with your managers. How many times? Not many times, I suppose. Or you did it.
No, we have, because we realized that that's the only way that they would understand, you know, different people handling, because it's all about, it's all about connecting with people, doc. It's all about trying to give them different scenarios. Today, you need to understand that a customer is not of the same mindset all, 8 or 10 hours of the day. So it is for a smart employee to figure out that, oh, he's had a bad morning. Let me do that extra bit so that he doesn't get upset with me. You know, that is also something that we have tried to address through role plays, where we actually train our mid-level people to handle difficult customers.
See, my job is not to do when I go to a client's place. Like, okay, for example, I used to go to meet collectors and parliamentarians for answering parliament questions. Okay. अभी जैसे जैतापुर प्रोजेक्ट आ रहा है, जैतापुर प्रोजेक्ट में there are 10 questions in parliament. उसके पहले you have to brief the minister who is going to respond. So 3 days you have to be in Delhi, you know, sitting there. So they are my clients, you know. उससे पहले see the focus of most of my people, including some of my seniors, you know, used to be जो मैं आंसर लिख के लाया हूँ, मुझे वो आंसर उनको बताना है. My focus is not on, you know, at the human level, I am not interacting with those people. मैं फटाफट start करता हूँ for the job which I have been sent to do. I have been sent to, let's say in Anand Palji's case, let us say he has 4 subordinates. What they might be feeling is my job is to start the audit, do an opening meeting. But to interact at the level of human beings, you know, वो ignore हो जाता है पूरा. हर case में. It's not, I'm not taking specific examples. My people used to ignore it. मुझे यार सबसे पहले मुझे एक रैपो बनानी है इस कलेक्टर के साथ. मुझे 5 साल में परमिशन लेनी है लैंड की है जैतापुर में. 3 साल में 5 साल में कैसे भी करके. तो रैपो नहीं बनेगी. मुझे क्या प्रेजेंटेशन कराना है क्या? वहाँ प्रेजेंटेशन इज माय एंड टारगेट. व्हाट इज माय एंड टारगेट? So this is, I think, one of the takeaways which you said. And the day the client tells you, believe me, I mean, that is the best day of your life. Other than the problem which you are solving, other than your core business, if he asks you something about else, something else, for यार मेरी बीवी भाग गई, मुझे कुछ solution बताओ ना. जिस दिन उसने ये पूछ लिया, मतलब that client will not leave you for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Is that वो रैपो? That is the litmus. Yeah.
Absolutely, Doc. I think for any relationship, it is very important for there to be a need for the relationship to survive. What is the need over here? That the customer has some pain point. Today, the very fact that if we have to understand that you need to listen to this pain point and be able to provide a solution. You may not be able to give an immediate solution, but the very fact that you are actually listening to them by itself builds a relationship with, the opposite person.
True. 2 things. I mean, I think best takeaways are this. ये बायां हाथ जो ग्लो मारता है ना, उनको मॉनिटर करो. Second thing is जो उस क्लाइंट को उस लेवल पे लाओ. In my opinion, I don't even use the word delight because इतना abused word हो गया ना, delight. Delight is this, you know, कि यार अब मुझे इसका भी solution बता दो ना. What do I do? She is filing a divorce case. So that is the ultimate delight, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's an interesting topic. I think some more people should pop in. Sumit ji is sitting there, I suppose so. He is logged in. But if he can join, it will be ideal.
Yeah, I'm there, sir. I'm there. I'm listening. Hi, Sana. Amazingly delivered. Absolutely from the heart and absolutely rolled out all your experiences. Superb session. Was a treat to the ears.
Thank you so
and
much.
And a lot of learning.
Sir, any lessons from your side?
I don't know, sir. I think a lot has to do with, a lot of facts come into play is what I understand, sir. A lot of facts come into play is ownership is a critical role where, people have to own up to a client. I think that's where the understanding, because see, there's clear demarcation between promoters and the front end line, because the people who are actually in the front line, who are actually interacting with the client, which you call the left hand blowers, those are the guys which actually make all the difference at ground level, is what I understand. It's often, you know, your entire business is, I think the entire motive of most businesses, it is run by people, and it is these people who make businesses or break businesses. And I feel training, see, we come from different, every organizations I think has their own unique challenges, and they pose unique threats with their client base. Depends on what kind of competition you face, what kind of, you know, organogram structure you hold within each scenario, what is your options available with you, you know. So these are various things which go into the dynamics of business. That's why they say business has a lot of dynamics, and each business is unique to its own scenario. But everything said and done, it's ownership, I think, which goes a long way when your people are wedded with the organization, when everybody is, you know, rowing in the same direction. That's when the Kerala boat hits the victory mark. So everyone has to set their oars in the right direction, at the right speed, enter at the right time, exit at the right time. That's, I think, the key. And it's all about teamwork. So organizations might have a good top management, they might have a good managerial cadre, a good working hand. Unless these three are wedded to each other, working together with each other, it becomes very difficult for organizations to prosper. That's my take. It's all about teamwork, sir. It's all about have unanimous goals. And it's easier said, you know, that you have objectives and you work towards your missions and visions and strategies, because at the end of the day, everyone has his own clear-cut agenda of where he wants to mark himself in life. So I think that's where the difference is.
Great,
You
great,
know,
great.
one basic rule, I mean, through all these years of experience has been that, you know, it's just one phrase: customer is king. And I think in all these 21 years, this is one constant that we have been repeating, and we have been walking the talk. So it's when the management, when the managerial level, when the supervisory level, when the lowest level, they all know that customer is king, customer is king, customer is king. They continuously keep getting bombarded with this. They realize that we have no option, but this is the focus. And I think these few ways of delivering or trying to entice our people to deliver and understand the importance of customer handling works with these small tricks, wherein we continuously keep repeating the aspect of what is important for our nature of business, and across all levels it is standardized. It some way or the other keeps coming back to you and keeps coming back to people, and they understand that this is the motto of the business, and some way or the other it contributes to their output. This is what I feel, Sumit. And it has
Yeah,
worked.
Sana, can I interrupt you before, because
Yes.
there's a time budget also.
Oh,
See,
correct.
I told you, I just returned from about after 7 days from, and I had been to this place called Cochin, Udupi Cochin Shipyard. Very interesting. I'll ask you this question, Sana, and I'll request Sumit also. This person got a mail. Shipyards now today they are building ships for they are commercial now, you know. So, and I was waiting for the cyclone, and this place is exactly on the coast of Udupi. And we were enjoying the cyclone there. So what happened there was, hi Vasudevan, a lady client writes to him from France. So some order for a ship. They have to build a ship. This Vasudevan wrote back saying that kindly be polite in your emails. Right? This is a client, huh? And we always write respected sir, respected madam. Please do not write. This is not the culture of India, right? What happens? This lady got so pissed. Now Vasudevan's boss was telling me, सब ऐसे लोगों का क्या करूं मैं क्या करूं? आए वासुदेवन वो कल्चर है फ्रांस का, यूरोप का. Now this is also client interaction, Mabha. Can you throw some light on this? And it's happening. You are also experiencing these kind of, I mean, this was an audacious situation. क्या करूं मैं तो इसको निकाल भी नहीं सकता हूँ, प्राइवेट सेक्टर वो निकाल भी सकता है ऐसे आदमी को. अब वो लेडी बहुत बड़ी लेडी है वहां पे, और वासुदेवन इज जस्ट अ डीजीएम रैंक पर्सन यार. Or he gets put off and he immediately offends her in the heat of the moment. In the heat of the moment, जैसे लोग प्रेग्नेंट कर देते हैं किसी को, उसी तरह से इसने उस लेडी को ऐसा ऑफसेट कर दिया ना टेंजेंशियली कि she doesn't want to do business with a huge PSU. And the boss says मैं क्या करूं इसका, खाली मैं इसको एक चिट्ठी दे सकता हूं, वार्निंग लेटर कि don't write such mails in future. But वो कहता है ये बंदा फिर लिखेगा. इसकी जो परवरिश हुई है ना सर 55 साल की, ये लिखेगा फिर से. मैं क्या करूं. मैंने कहा मेरे पिताजी मेरे पास सॉल्यूशन नहीं है इस बात का यार. ये फ्रेंडली वे में डिस्कस हो रहा था, नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ एनीथिंग. बट टेल मी व्हाट टू डू इन सच केसेस.
Well, Doc, I mean, I think, of course, it's
This
very
is interaction.
sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad that, at such senior level also you have such blunders that occur, which cost companies new relationships in business. It's a financial loss for the business. So I think while they should take, while they should be able to address this with them and very clearly restrict his level of initial interaction with them and just bifurcate his profile to only operations, that's the only solution that I would recommend to them. And another solution to this problem is, Doc, and with most nature of businesses in India, is that we are not sensitive and open to different cultures as well. And many times this does happen where people get offended with either the way they're addressed or the way text is written or they've responded. And I think therefore the whole idea of trying to generate a common Spock who responds to these kind of queries is the only solution to the problem. Because where you have such blunders which cost companies crores of rupees, you'd rather invest in a team that actually handles client servicing and is able to deal with customers and make new customers rather than break the relationship. Never mind the financial loss. Imagine the reputation loss that this company has borne because of this blunder of Mr. Vasudevan.
The only
It's not worth it.
the issue here is, everybody, it's not that there is a client servicing person in each company. Every person who interacts with the client is a client service representative. And that should be the approach. And that's how companies should build their people. This is my, I think, conclusion. You just can't say कि यार इसने गलती कर दी तो marketing या BD वाला सुधार देगा जाके. It cannot happen. Or the CMD himself will go and rectify it. No. This should not, first thing is it should not happen in the first place. Like, secondly, those are the people, and if it comes to your notice, I feel that there has to be stern action, because even that mail is an interaction with the client. No,
Absolutely.
that mail which is for a technical reason, it's not for a marketing reason at all. So don't think that only the marketing person is your ambassador. Each person who interacts with the client is your. अभी हमारे कलेक्टर ने, हमारे एक सीनियर आदमी ने कलेक्टर को क्या बोला फतेहाबाद हरियाणा में जाके, madam, your conceptions are entirely wrong. Radiation does not kill the way you are perceiving. वो कलेक्टर ने immediately 3 मिनट के बाद क्या बोला, sir, I have a very, something is cropped up. The CMO is on call and I think I'll have to wind up this meeting. And this meeting took 8 days to organize. You know why? Because the appointment nahi de raha tha PA. 8 days and 7 people from NPCIL were sitting there, very senior people. Your conceptions are entirely wrong. I mean, if I come and tell you, Sana, your conceptions are entirely wrong. Aap galat ho, sir, madam. Kaisa lagta hai? So each technical person is a marketing person, today.
I also think that in this, to whatever extent, there is an element of ego which has disrupted this relationship. And I think that is something that we need to address and have inbuilt in people on joining or, through the HR and through trainings there, because people need to understand that you can't have an ego. I'm not saying you have to listen to the client at every given point in time. You do have a right to put your point forward, but at the end of the day, you can't have an ego when it comes to a client.
No ego there, right? Ego doesn't work in business. Ego, दिखा लो या मतलब ego, but the majority does it. The majority is completely like a कुत्ते की पूंछ. वहां ऑफेंड होते ही हैं. अगर किसी ने बोल, जैसे कलेक्टर के लेवल पे तुम अपना काम कराने जा रहे हो वहां पे, और वो कहती है आई हैव हर्ड दैट रेडिएशन किल्स पीपल. शी वांटेड, शी हैड अ स्मॉल ऑब्जेक्शन which she has studied. She's a collector. Yeah, don't underestimate her.
Absolutely.
She wants an assurance from you कि नहीं मारता है. So why do you bloody have to say your conceptions are entirely wrong? And that was such a, I mean, I was simply, super excited with this. I said, this is the best example you can give in your training events, and I quote that today everywhere, without naming somebody or without naming the company or anything. कि यार ऐसा हो गया है वहां तो, because this is something. तो आपने जो बोला ना, मेरा पीसी में जो पावर पॉइंट बना के ले, I outsourced this PowerPoint. I paid 25. Me and Dr. Kataria went to the G20 conference. People have spent heavily in making their PowerPoints there, heavily. Then I asked one gentleman who's known to us, कितना पैसा लगा ये बनाने में यार, हमें हमारा PowerPoint ऐसा बन ही नहीं सकता है. And the amount, 45,000 rupees, for making that presentation. How many slides? Some 11 slides. But super presentation. I mean, super. I mean, you love it, like you fall in love with that presentation. But that presentation to secondary है ना. पहले तो आपने बोल ही दिया ना कि मतलब you are completely wrong. Your concept, in your concept.
You have to close the doors.
You close the door, no? So, and बात ये हो रही है सारी कि यार, these things are very secondary. These things come later. Not that the presentation is not important. If I
It's
make
very
a present,
important in client-centric roles or in any business, you have to be non-judgmental. You
frame of
cannot.
mind, frame of
Absolutely.
mind. A person who is actually wooing a lady goes for marriage. तो मतलब वो पहले मतलब if he puts her off, so whatever dress, whatever perfume, Gucci कुछ भी डाल के गया, that makes no sense. अगर पहले से ही बोल दिया, I don't like your habit, the way you are eating, बोल दिया ना, बोल दिया. बाकी क्या, फिर क्या फायदा तूने बेटा 1 लाख रुपया ग्रूमिंग में लगाया? What is the use of all that? अगर वो if there is अगर वो जो है ना, this is a very complex, as I always say, कि very complex psychological process. It's not your technical matter that matters first. First is what is the kind of, एक frame of mind है. Are you in sync? Are you in sync? और नहीं है तो लाना पड़ेगा किसी भी तरह से. उसके बाद start everything. Otherwise, there's no point in saying we are this company, we are the largest company, and never start with that. Nobody is interested in how large you are. Nobody is interested in what you are as a person. कितने qualifications है, कितने awards हैं. That guy is interested, मुझे headache है, aspirin लाए हो क्या मेरे लिए? उसके बाद बोलो ये aspirin साहब quality check से बनी है, इससे बनी है, उससे बनी है, मेरी कंपनी दे. अच्छा तुम्हारी फिर assurance चाहिए उसको कि तुम्हारी aspirin ठीक है कि नहीं, या generic है. Otherwise, it makes no sense. बोलेगा यार whatever, उसको तो again you are hurting his ego by starting with your own bragging and bratting about yourself. वो बोलेगा ये ठीक है यार, पहले ये बता मेरा हेडेक कब ठीक करेगा तू.
Absolutely.
चलो, और सुमित जी स्माइल कर रहे हो, बोलो भी प्लीज कुछ.
नहीं, nothing to add, sir. लेकिन क्या है ना, it's a big challenge. See, India में cultures, diversities, language, spoken text, it is, there is so much dynamics to that. आप अगर एक, you have someone from the north interacting with someone from the south, there is a different way to approach it. There is difference in the way we dialect ourselves. I'll just give a small example. Jazans in India closed 50 CBs. They added 50 certification bodies in a span of 1.5 years when this gentleman from Australia, Mr. David Syme, was here. David Syme had this super knack of learning Hindi. So he picked up Hindi very well, started talking to everybody in Hindi. Then उसने क्या किया, he started wearing the attire. मैसूर गया तो मैसूर सिल्क का कुर्ता पजामा डाल के घूमा. तो जिस जहां गया वहां का उसने attire समझा. So that was one of the key ways where he could add 50 CBs. 50 CBs a year is a huge addition in terms of certification bodies. Up this he could do because he got wedded to their culture, he got wedded to their understanding. So it's very important that you get in sync with what your client wants, and that's exactly what Sana said in, you know, when in the start part of her session. She said you need to understand what he needs and you need to be delivering what he needs, not what you have. Or everything, if you have that, and business transaction as unfortunately goes through many people. It is not a single person oriented delivery in various businesses. अब वो कहीं पे भी वो किसी भी बोगी में if the wheel is not functioning right, it is definitely bound to slow down your entire wagon. And that's where I think that's a very unique problem, and everyone needs to handle it very sensitively. You should be able to have backups to handle it. It's a lot of dynamics, sir. You should be able to have backups to say, okay, if not this person, let me have another person handle it. कभी कभी वो options नहीं होते. Yes, Sana.
But I also feel that, when you realize, see, everybody knows their nature of business. So when you realize that this is a threat in your business, you need to figure out and you need to have the right kind of monitoring and the threshold that, okay, this is now reaching the risk zone. I need to jump in, plug the issue, or take charge, or put another pilot in charge of, the project.
Right.
I think these kind of decisions can only be taken by people who foresee this kind of an issue,
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I think experience does play an important role in this, and also the individual. Many times for an individual, for example, this Mr. Vasudev, it doesn't really matter to Mr. Vasudev that the lady doesn't do business with his company, but to the company, it is a loss. It's a financial loss of reputation, financial loss, and to the company, this is a serious issue. So I think if this is a DGM, GM should immediately jump in and be able to save the issue and disconnect this DGM from interaction with the lady. And that would be the true success of the
No,
business.
see,
that
what
you are
has happened
able-
is the Sana, उसमें क्या what has happened in this case is वो जो बोलते हैं ना, रहीम जी ने जो बोला था ना, रहीमन दागा प्रेम का, वो जो शुरू में जब ऐसा हो जाता है ना, this bitterness creeps in,
That's
it's
true.
very dangerous for a long
That's
time,
true. That's
as
true.
long as this lady is on her seat, in her seat, she will keep troubling you, or she will not be, her approach would be a little uncompromising,
Yeah.
This I can vouch for. I mean, even in personal life, I mean, if it happens with some friend also, वो धागे में जो गांठ पड़ गई है ना, that doesn't dissolve for a
Always
lifetime.
true.
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
anyway. Now I think we can hand it back to the organizing team.
The team. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for briefing us the managing client interaction. A soft skill based on providing and improving the entire customer experience, like with an interpersonal skill. The efforts are complex but also crucial if you want a strong and clear connection with your clients. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful section. Our next section is on 24th of June, which shall be taken by Mr. Yogi Raj Bharat Bhushan on health as well. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS, and OSHAs, excellence in education management. ICS is being made easy in various languages like Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and as well as in Hindi. For reading any of the above books, please contact Ms. Sushma Kindalkar. Her email ID as well as his contact number is being provided. Feedback forms, please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in your login and give us a feedback. Now we officially close down the section.